Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Tesla. It is time for another update, and today we will be discussing about the latest developments here in the short time frame where we managed to push into the latest or the lowest levels into the area of support, and we did manage to hold it so far, but we will be discussing as well about the levels that must be broken and the pattern that we are tracking for a more clear indication that this is indeed a bottom and that we are not shifting into a different scenario. Now, before we get there, I would like to go quickly through the large time frame for any of you who might be new. And here we are tracking basically a couple of scenarios. Now, I won't actually go in this video through them, but in both scenarios, we are actually looking for the same pattern to develop within this area. Where, in green, we are looking at an ending diagonal in a wave 5 that we would expect to form, and in orange, we would be looking at a leading diagonal in an additional wave 1 to the upside. Now, in both cases, there is actually still a chance that we may still see a reset of this entire correction, where this may turn into a larger ABC pattern in the end, but it is not the preferred scenario at the moment. Now, to the upside, we are tracking here the white scenario within which we have an ABC pattern in a wave 1, ABC pattern in a wave 2, and we are tracking an ABC pattern within the wave 3 to the upside, and we will expect the same developments within the wave 4 and the wave 5 as well afterwards. But for now, we are going to focus internally in this third wave to the upside. And in this area, we would actually still need to extend quite a lot further for this third wave to be complete. Within this wave C, I only really have the clarity of having maybe a wave 1 complete, and we can even add the drawings here. But we have a wave 1 complete, and I am looking here at a possible wave 2, and I'm looking for an internal third wave to develop. Now, within this structure, I am likely tracking an ending diagonal within this larger wave C. So in that case, I may need to be open for this to be something like an ABC structure in a wave 1 and have something like an ABC structure in a wave 3. Now, even if it is an ending diagonal, I would still like to reach the ideal target for a wave 3, and in this case it would be at the $577 level, the 138.2% extension of the wave 1. And honestly, in either case, even if this manages to still develop as an impulse, which by the way, it is possible, I would expect it to get there. I would expect it to get there even if we develop this into something like an ABC structure in the end. Doesn't matter to me. I would like to get there. I would need to see that level reached for a clear indication that this count is really working out. Now, internally within this wave 3 to the upside, at the moment we have here in white we are tracking the possibility of an impulse forming, and for that we actually still need to hold this very much relevant area of support between the $430 level all the way down to the $386 level. And at the moment it did hold. We even created a reaction yesterday from the bottom. We did push even below it briefly, nothing that would be considered a sustained break or even remotely enough for an invalidation of this setup working out. But we did also push into the interpretation that we have here in blue, in which we are tracking an ABC structure to be unfolding. So by getting to this area of support, we may need to be watching out for the possibility of already being or already forming the wave C to the upside of this larger wave 3. It does make tracking this chart just a little bit more complicated, and it is unfortunate because it will be more difficult to make a distinction between these scenarios, but it is what it is at the moment, and these are the levels that we need to track. Now, within this pattern to the upside, if we are to follow through within the white scenario, we are going to be tracking continuously, after we complete here a fifth wave, another support area for a wave 4, and then continuation higher, and then another support area for a wave 4, and then continuation higher, because here we basically have an additional 1-2-1-2 setup that would actually still need to complete for an impulse to be a valid interpretation within this pattern to the upside. But even within the wave A, it is very much valid to actually consider this something like an ABC structure, and maybe even something like an ABC, in which case this pattern would be complete in a wave A. Now, with that said, I won't bore you with the details about how this pattern could unfold from a larger scale perspective. We will be patient and track this along the way. But at the moment, I would like to actually see a bottom having already been formed in the case of this interpretation in white, where I could consider this something like a WXY. Yeah, in that case, the pattern could be considered complete. It is not too likely, unfortunately, and I am actually prepared for continuation to lower prices. And in some cases, I may even be able to consider this an impulse forming to the downside, where I have basically a series of 1-2 setups that have formed in this area, with this latest movement being the actual wave 3 to the downside. And in that case, I will be watching out for a possible 1, 2, 3, 4th, and a 5th to extend lower. We will be tracking this in the yellow interpretation, and I would be watching out for resistance in this case at the levels between the $397 all the way up to the 50% retracement at the $412 level. Now we can check if we drew this right, but yeah, it is around those levels that we must break. And as you may see, clearly we have pushed into the 50% retracement before we got significantly more rejected than what we have done here in a more direct fashion, in a more direct push higher. Now, if we actually manage to break here above the 50% retracement, it would be a good sign for the bullish case that we have bottomed indeed. And yeah, I know it may seem quite easy. It may seem like it's just almost done and we will already open in the market and have broken this idea. But at the moment, we haven't broken this resistance level, and even if we do, I do have room for other interpretations that could still allow us to trend lower even if we break above this resistance area. Yeah, this is for the idea of an impulse forming to the downside, in which case we may be forming a 5-wave move down. This would be a wave A down. We would then still need to see a larger wave B correction, and then even a follow-up wave C to the downside, which could take us very easily even to the lowest point into the larger support area in blue. Now, these support areas remain unchanged from the previous videos. For the white scenario, we are still looking down to the $386 level, and for the blue scenario, we have support from the $384.4 level all the way down to the $307.8 level at the 78.6% retracement, where if we actually end up breaking even that level, that would actually be quite a significant warning sign that this entire structure may fail and that we should be prepared for an even more significant retracement. At this point, we are far away from those levels and we don't need to concern ourselves with that too much, but those are the important levels of support that I'm tracking. Now, from a smaller time frame perspective, I don't necessarily consider that we have formed here internally a 5-wave move up. I would rather be considering this actually an ABC. Probably something like that would work better. Could work out. I'm not going to get too much into the 5-minute time frame to discuss how discount would work, but if we are to form a 5-wave structure to the upside within this larger wave 5 in white, I will be watching out for an initial larger 5-wave move. If we get that, we will have an internal 1-2 setup, which will actually be quite interesting to be tracking, and then we will have the setup that I will provide for the third wave, the upside, in which we would extend into this larger wave 5. And for now, these are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.